Hi everybody. Today we are going to discuss about something very esoteric. So get ready because I'm going to read The Thought by Omar Mikhail Ivanov. Clairvoyance is generally associated with the element of water. The book of Genesis says that God separated the waters above from the waters below. The waters above represented the cosmic library in which the archives of the universe are kept. This library, referred to in the esoteric tradition as the Akasha Chronica, bears the imprints left by every creature that has ever existed and of every event that has ever taken place on Earth since the beginning of time. This is why some clairvoyants work with water. They stare into a bowl of water in order to see. It is not that they actually see anything in the water, but through it they make contact with the waters above and with the images floating in those waters. In this way, their spirit finds what they are looking for. Very esoteric, I said in the beginning, but what the word esoteric actually means. It comes from Latin and means secret. And the opposite of esoteric is exoteric, which means disclosed. And why secret? Why this kind of information should be kept secret? I give you an example of why. Let's suppose that I had a mystical experience. Something, a sort of a miracle happened to me. And then I'm going to share it with you. So you might have three reactions. 1, I believe you. 2, I don't believe you. 3, I don't believe you, you are completely crazy and I will get far from you. So the reason is, the first possibility is actually that you might believe what I'm saying, the mystical experience I had, but then you're not going to research, to seek by yourself this truth. The second and the third possibilities actually could even prevent you to look for that kind of truth. And that's why the word esoteric, it's used for all this kind of wisdom that necessarily requires your effort to find it by yourself. Because the true truth, it can only be found within yourself. Nobody can tell. I can tell you that God exists. You can believe it or not, but what do you do with this information? I can tell you that I had a vision, I had a sort of miracles, but then what's the meaning of it? You don't do anything with this information. That's why you must do the spiritual work to find that information. And that's why all the traditions, the esoteric, initiatic traditions, always kept this importance of the silence in the sharing these kind of truths. The Freemasons, sometimes you might find some famous Masons that use the symbolism of like the silence, like doing like this with the hands. And this is actually a message that is showing this kind of necessary silence. Anyway, in this thought we were talking about clairvoyance. What is it, this clairvoyance? Here it said that through the water you can connect to this Akasha Chronicle, which is where the universal library, where all the information are stored. Okay, let's do a step back to the word clairvoyance. This already, if you are skeptical, if you're not spiritual, this might completely can have, let's say, an opposite impact on you. But I can share with you some scientific information. There have been many researches since the 1950s on both sides, the US and the ex-USSR, and you can find a big, huge literature about psychic experiments they have been doing. You can search by yourself about the Stargate project by the CIA. I will put actually a link on the description. There are many documents that were disclosed where they were doing experiments of clairvoyancy. Actually, some of them that I remember, they were putting a person close in one cell and then another person close in another cell. One person has to think about an image and the other person should draw it without having any possibility of communication between the two persons. And actually they were seeing that this was possible. The person, the clairvoyant, could be able to draw the image that was drawing the other person in the other separate, isolated cell. And there are many examples like that. The problem is that then they weren't, it wasn't possible to reproduce them. And the same experiments were done also in the USSR. Recently, there was a famous article in a Russian magazine, a military magazine, where they affirmed, a minister of the defense affirmed that Russian militaries have telepathic skills, are trained with the telepathical skills for the battlefield. I will also put the link in the description of the video afterwards. So it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. There are also other experiments. You probably heard about Jung, who was studying also the possibility to forecast things through the dreams. And he spoke also about the synchronicities. But also the problem again was the impossibility to replicate this. And that's why all these kind of things is still under the voice of pseudoscience. But the fact that we are not able now to measure it, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. I will put a doubt regarding that. And also, yeah, they were. I wrote down some notes. The point of not possibility. The scientific community has always been a little bit a lot skeptical about this, because it goes the possibility to foretell the future is limited by two laws. One, the law of causality, so the law of cause and effect, or the second law of dynamic of Newton, and then the second law of thermodynamic. Anyway, I'm not going into details of that. I will probably insert the link also in the description of the video. So because of these two laws, it's impossible to see the future from this point of view. And because it still has to be created, so there are many potentials. But now the quantum physics is actually bringing a revolution regarding this topic. And you can look about I wrote it down because it's a hard word, retrocausality quantum theory. Retrocausality, this means that they were seeing that the photons, they were reacting in a strange way. It means that it seems that the future has an effect on the past. The effect has an impact on the cause. I'm not a physicist, so I'm not going to explain it to you in detail, but you can search by yourself. So this is just I don't want now to prove in a short video that clairvoyance exists, but I'm just opening the possibilities and also inviting you to search by yourself. And okay, there are also other studies about the importance of the memory of the water. Also, these kind of things has not been scientifically proven, but people are still researching about that. So in this photo it said that these people could just look into the water and get the connection with all the information of the universe. Is that possible? It's up to you to try and to try to believe. I said in the beginning the word esoteric. There is another reason why some things are esoteric. Why this kind of knowledge and skills are not given to everybody? Have you ever, you probably are wondering why. Why cannot I be, why some people are clairvoyant and others are not? Because it's believed that certain capabilities and skills are disclosed and given only to those people who are ready to have those kind of powers. Why? Why? Imagine that a common average or a criminal has this kind of clairvoyancy. What can he do with this information? He will probably try to use it to steal or to seduce or to make money or to harm other people. It's also recommended in the esoteric science to not to push to get these special clairvoyance powers, because there are some techniques that you can use. Also, staring at the water, staring at crystals, staring at the mirror. There are many that you can. I don't want even to disclose it now on a Facebook video. If you are interested, you can contact me in private. But it's very dangerous. Why are dangerous? Because first of all, are dangerous for yourself. Because clairvoyancy allows you to see something that goes behind the physical world. And then there is a law called the law of resonance that will start working in. The law of resonance, to say it in 3 words, is the same law that the radio works. The radio works with the frequencies. So if you change the frequencies, you change the radio station that you are going to listen. Okay, so if your frequency is very low, your radio frequency, then you might connect to very bad music. Let's say I'm using symbolism, and that's why I also personally met a person that wasn't interested at all into these kind of things, but I don't know for which reason she opened the doors of clairvoyance, and she was almost going crazy because she could see things that normally people wouldn't see, and psychology would call that sort of schizophrenia. Esoteric science would call that a problem with the clairvoyance in some cases. Or sometimes it's just schizophrenia. But anyway, this is a very long topic I don't want to open now. Anyway, it's very dangerous to push to get this kind of abilities if you're not pure enough. Otherwise, then you would synchronize and tune yourself into low-level energies, and you probably don't want that. So, going back into the original thought, we were talking also about water. Without trying to be clairvoyant, and again, the clairvoyancy and all these powers will be, according to it's believed in the esoteric science, that will given once we become pure. The purer we become, the more we will get this kind. Naturally, these things will start to bloom in ourselves. But because then at that point we might be useful, not only for ourselves, but also for the others. But going back to the power of water, scientists are trying to prove that there is a memory in water. This is still not scientifically proven, but if you take, for example, water from a spring, a river, or from the sea or wherever, definitely has a memory. You would say no, I can say yes. Why? Because there might be some particles of DNA of the animals and all the other living entities that there are in a river or a sea. And those kind of little information of DNA actually contain all the history of all the river throughout all the history. So scientifically this is a fact. But also you can use water not only for clairvoyancy. Water has been used in all the traditions to bless. If you go in a church, they're still using the water, but also I think in all the traditions all around the world and the time, have been using for the same purpose of blessing things. So you can use it the same way, and I can share with you a little exercise before ending this video. You can believe it or not in the memory of water, doesn't matter, but if you believe it, that matters, and that would trigger the placebo effect. The placebo effect, which means that if you believe something is going to heal you, then it's going to do it, and this is also scientific fact. So, for example, you can take, whenever you are going to drink a glass of water or whatever, you can even do this little meditation. You can close the eyes and drinking, imagining that this water contains all the information for healing your body, for bringing you peace, harmony, love, wisdom. You can even imagine that this water is coming from the divine sources, or from Lourdes, I don't know, from wherever you prefer, whatever it more resonates with you. But by drinking, this is something also you can do with the food, but with drinking it's even more powerful. So you imagine that this water that comes into you is healing your body and is bringing good energy, good vibrations, and so on and so on and so on. So I hope this exercise can be useful for you. Try to believe. This is the motto of these videos. So thanks again for watching. You will find in the description, I'm going to put some references so you can have fun and search by yourself. Never believe the truth, but look for the truth and find it by yourself. And see you tomorrow again. Bye, bye, bye. Thanks for watching. Ciao, ciao Elisa. Ciao, ciao, ciao.